Alright, welcome to the set for Barbatos versus Credit Issue. It's going to be a short stop motion test I'm doing tonight. Um, so here we got Dragon Frame all set up. This is a set that my dad and I built. Basically just a blue backdrop and sandy ground. They're on some sort of composite wood, and this is on sort of a softer poster material. And we're using 2 HG gunpla today for the animation. I have an assortment of stands here that I'm going to use to suspend them and just remove them in post. Here's the Dragon Frame keypad. And my cat's trying to get in. There she is. So for this test, I drew up a quick storyboard. So basically what we got is wide shot of them both posed for battle, close-ups, movement as Barbatos attacks first, and then Cardi's going to dodge, jump up, and then land, and then she's going to charge forward, doing a sword strike at Barbatos. He's going to duck under it, and then swing up with his giant mace, knocking her into the air. Then she's going to fall into frame in a close-up, reach for his sword, he's going to drop it, and then he's going to destroy her, cutting the black. So it's a pretty short test, just mainly actually just to see how this backdrop looks with these characters that I've actually just went through this week. And then once I have all the sound effects and music, hopefully it'll be pretty cool. Okay, so I've actually just finished all the special effects and sound design for my Barbatos versus Graze Ritter video, but I just want to kind of give you guys a behind-the-scenes look at my process. So I animated in Dragon Frame. I showed you guys the set of that earlier. Took about 4 hours to animate the 40 seconds or so that we have here, and I did that last night. So this is just a look at the raw footage, and as you can see, I use these stands here to basically suspend the characters, and then I remove them in post later. And the way I do that is with these clean frames like that. So basically by having a clean frame like this, I can use this as a backdrop to clean out the stands. So this is basically just, the entire short film shot as is, and you see all these sort of extraneous pieces in the background that I'm going to remove later, as well as extraneous frames. So then the next thing I do is I go in with something called masks, and let's see if I can pull it up. So these are masks, and basically they allow me to cover up parts of the frame, and I'll show that in action, in order to hide the parts that had those stands in them. And so it looks like I used, not very organized, but I think I used 6 masks on this one. So then as you can see now, basically I've hidden all the stands. Can't see them anymore, but this is how those masks are moving with the video to actually hide the frames, or hide the stands. And if I click here, you can basically see how it's going to look once the masks are gone too. So it looks like he's just floating. And so that's how it looks once I've done the masking work, and that takes about 2 to 3 hours. And then the next step I did was, so I don't really know much about cinematography, so I just went in and manually just did lighting to kind of try to match them as close as I could, just in After Effects. It doesn't do a great job, but I think it's good enough. Just because when I use the zoom lens, obviously it creates a darker image and I'm not just in the lights. So I just kind of went by eye and tried to make sure that these matched, because the first time around, these close shots like this were very dark, so I just had to increase the brightness. So this layer is a special effects layer. This is a technique I actually learned from doing lightsabers in Adobe After Effects. I'm going to fit this to screen again. is that you can basically create a solid white shape, which is this top one right here, and then cut pieces out of it with masks to create things like laser effects or jet effects. So I've actually used that here, zoom out, to create these jet effects for the characters, as you can see right there. And I just track those frame by frame with the character, and it's just a mask on a white solid with a very high feather to create kind of the jet effect. So if I get rid of those masks, this is what it'll look like in the actual video. Like that. And that looks pretty cool. And it kind of helps just make this a lot more dynamic for the combat scenes. And then this layer, it looks like I just went through and got rid of all the extraneous frames, like those clean frames that I had in there to use to mask things out. Just getting it ready for Adobe Premiere. And then I had one where I was going to experiment with camera moves. I didn't actually use that. So editing is actually my final version of it right here. Cool. So then next I move on to Adobe Premiere. Okay, so this is Adobe Premiere, and this is where I do all the sound design and then any last minute edits as well as titles. So first I just import the actual video, which I've just labeled for sound, and you can see basically here in the preview, that's just the video that I exported from Adobe After Effects just a second ago. And it's just all the visuals already prepped and ready to go from After Effects. And then I'll bring it into this timeline in the video layer right here, and then I make a multitude of sound layers. I'm not very organized. And as far as sound effects, the ones I use are mostly from my own private collection that I've gotten from recording things myself, and then also from Storyblocks, which we had a subscription to back in high school. And then I also use Exosuit, which is this really, really nice set of sound effects that I bought from Blue Zone. And then also the mechanical sound effect kit. I didn't get the expensive one, I just have the regular one. And this is a bunch of really awesome mechanical sound effects that are really good for mechs that I got for my birthday. So overall, basically, you can go through here and solo and mute any different layers. So for example, I'll show you, here's how it is with all the music. You can see it fall down through. But then, for example, I could solo the music, so only music. Or I could mute the music. And that's really good for basically just isolating layers, figuring out what you need, and then also tapering off sound effects to kind of meld them all into get better together, and also just putting them at the right, I guess, volumes. So one of the really important things, I've really enjoyed stop motion sound design for a long time, but it's not too much and not too little, and you want to kind of just layer things so that you are telling the story with the sounds and also kind of creating a soundscape, but not really overwhelming and distracting from the actual animation. So my favorite sound effects to use are sort of heavy booms and mechanical sounds for movement, and then I'll occasionally use like really slowed down robot sounds for the movement as well, and then explosions for the jet engines. And then as far as the actual collisions, sometimes it'll be like here for example, stacked 4 sound effects of different like fall with debris, and then like a big boom from the mechanicals, and then like a crash from the mech sound effect. And then like sort of those like valve air sounds are really good for after movement for mechs as well. And then I also really like chain and gear sounds. So if you can hear this one, for example. So I'll use that for a lot of the movement as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much how this all looks with. But yeah, so once I get all the sound effects in there, and then also titles, so that guy, and then this guy at the end, then it's ready to export, and I put it out from there.